Aloha and shalom, saints of the Most High God. How are you? God bless you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, our Lord and Savior. Today is November 8th, 2022, and I wanted to take a few minutes out on this morning to tell all of you that have not voted already to get out and vote. Those of you that are still sitting on those mail-in ballots, let's make those selections. In the primaries, I was one of the candidates, and for those of you that don't know, I was running for Senate in Hawaii at the leading of the Lord. And I remember that the Lord was speaking to that He was giving everyone a choice, and that God was choosing David Harts. And these individuals don't look like who is chosen. And it's so funny when I think about this word chosen, is because it's been like the theme anthem for this week ever since a Sabbath uh, that we just came out of. So like this whole week, it has been, I've been hearing and feeling chosen, chosen. And I remember last week I was hearing the word precious. And, I had an opportunity to share my anointing with a friend of mine. His daughter and I were sitting outside, and we were speaking to the Lord. And she was asking me to make circles appear in the sky. And I heard in my spirit, I said, I'm not hearing circles. I said, I'm hearing diamonds in my spirit. I said, I believe the Lord is going to show us diamonds tonight. And she's like, no, no, I want circles. I want circles. And it's nighttime. Then all of a sudden I do, my little thing. And for whatever reason, the Lord allows me to demonstrate my anointing with her. And so all of a sudden, a double rainbow appears at night. And I think I believe this was this past Friday night, which was Sabbath. And the double rainbow appears, and then the rainbow halo appears around the moon. And then the clouds begin to like roll, and they didn't just like roll by. It was like they were doing this like mystical type of thing, right? Then all of a sudden, when I went to Ethiopia, I have a cross that was given to me at Mary's temple. And those of you that watched, I go like this, and it actually it's the relic that God gives me. And I was able to use my hands and form and the clouds responded, and diamonds were appearing everywhere in the sky. And she was just blown away. And then she gets frustrated, and she's like, well, why can't I have a circle? And I said, well, let's ask the Lord for circles. And then this blanket, just nothing comes. And she was just like, why does the Lord always listen to you? I would like to have a circle. And she gets frustrated with the Lord. And I said, in order to speak to creation, you have to move in love. You have to have a heart of love. You can't just say, well, I want this just because I want it, and you better give it to me. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to get upset. God can see down the line if we're going to get upset or we're going to get frustrated. Whether He responds or not, we need to be at peace that God is going to be God all by itself. So I think that's also another message in this. Get out and vote, because, there are diamonds that are being forged here. There is a season that is coming that's going to be very challenging for us. And the leadership that we, select and put in to represent, what we believe in, it's going that those voices and those hearts are going to be what steer us through some very dark times that are coming, shortly. And we're going to be in need of uh, the voice of God, and not those that are going to reject the voice of God when He speaks. Because one thing that I'm learning is that while men may do all of their roadblocks and everything like that, creation is responding. You understand? Creation it is responding. And I say this so emphatically because God took down Egypt. And I went to see a pastor this past Sunday, and he said something that was so powerful. A lot of times men think that they can do this or they can do that, but this particular pastor said something that it just captured me. He said God took down Egypt with frogs and fleas. So don't underestimate the power of God, because we are His creation, and at any time He can command it and it will respond. This body that we have, when it gets tired of our mess, it will shut off. It will go to the Lord and say, I'm tired of taking care of this wicked spirit or this evil soul, and the body will begin to just decay itself away. You understand? And if you really think about how the body will even begin, what is a heart attack? Like, we don't want that. What is it? The disease and the weakening of the immune system. We don't want that. It's almost like the body says, I'm not going to protect you anymore. I'm not going to cover you anymore. You're doing all of this wicked, let's just, it's really amazing, because the human body can miraculously fight off everything. But what makes the body choose to turn off? You understand? Like, we are literally the image of God, so with this image of God and understanding the power that we have, let's not discount, our privilege to use this hand, or if you're a lefty, use this hand, or to use these eyes to look at the ballot, whatever it is that we're supposed to do today, let's do it. Let's do it to the glory of the Lord. You understand? Because this is a chosen time for a chosen people. And when we're making these choices, let's examine these things. Right now, the person that's sitting in office right now, I watched him come on TV in the past day or two, and he made an announcement that he's going to shut down, the coal industry. This is power and industry. Now, in doing this, it's very dangerous, because Native Americans, whether they're, from Alaska, somewhere in the indigenous areas of our country, those that are on the islands, and everything like that. There's and even in the heartland, of the state, the northern states as well will feel this, and I got this information this morning because I was speaking with another prophet this morning, and he was directly affected by some of these drastic measures that when certain people in office they take, because maybe they're not affected by it, or maybe because they're not getting advisement that includes all perspectives and the full spectrum of things, how one decision will affect everyone. And I think that's what a lot of us need to slow down and do. There's decisions that we make in our families that affect everyone. Like, let's say you decide not to take care of yourself or to dress yourself appropriately in cold months or in inclement weather, and you get sick. That decision not to protect yourself, yielded yourself to potential sickness. And now you bring that home, and then the air vents are going on and the fan is going on. Everyone's eating off the same utensils, touching the same knobs and handles and everything like that, using the same restroom and everything. Next thing you know, the entire house is victimized by your decision not to take care of yourself. Not saying that things don't happen, but when we make a decision that could, that can really affect others, we got to slow down. And this is one of those decisions, with the gentleman that's in office right now. He's making decisions that are negatively and drastically and very concerningly, going to impact our nation and our families and everything like that. So this is another attack of the economy. The economy of America is just, and we can be hiring and everything like that, but when inflation is going up to the point where we can't afford to keep up. Like, if we make a little bit of a raise, but the inflation is absorbing that, we can't glory in, okay, well, we got a raise, but okay, well, now inflation done took it. There's really no glory in that. It's an illusion. It's just something to say or to stand on, but at the end of it, there's no fruit. The Bible says a thing by its fruit. One of the things that I ran on, and I was so serious about it, and we're getting hit right now, because in my state I did not hear any other candidate running on this platform, and this platform is ransacking Hawaii right now. It's drugs, cartels, drug pushers, and mental illness and crime and all of these things I stood on, and it wasn't important enough to vote for the candidate that was emphatically, that was going to roar against this. Instead we did things like vote for clicks and vote for what was pleasant, what was controllable, what we felt like once, these individuals got in office, you can kind of mold them into doing the same thing that's already happening. And now, since the primaries and now today being the general election, we're looking at much of the same thing, only terrible things are happening in Hawaii right now because maybe we did not vote the way God wanted us to vote. Maybe we did not vote righteously, and now, regardless of what I say or this one says or whatever excuses we have, the Bible again says we know a thing by its fruit. And the fruit of the matter is there were prophecies that went out. See, the Lord has placed prophets to move into Senate, which is how it's supposed to be, because the king or the president or the ruler that God raised, they need to have counsel. And the counsel that is around them should be highly prophetic and connected with the Lord. But people are not wanting that. People are wanting people pleasers. Well, one thing that I was preaching about recently was the movie Wonder Woman, and how there was a gentleman that had his own internal issues and carried those hurts into, a place where, into a dark place within himself. But he used, hurts and everything to motivate him into getting or stealing what appeared to be the office of the presidency. Catch what I'm saying? He stole the presidency and got in the presidency and then went before all the cameras and began to give people genie wishes, giving them what they wanted. And the hearts of men were so foul and wicked on a grand scale that they was destroying the world, and he was just giving them what they wanted. So when you have someone in the office that seems to be giving you what you want, not giving you any restraints or to be wise in your decisions or anything like that, or to slow down and think about how these things might affect other people on a grand scale of things, you have to ask yourself, well, how and why am I voting for this person? You know what I'm saying? So when you think about it, we've gotten a lot of the pride groups that are coming from, and we're not saying love or dislove or giving any opinion in that area. What I'm saying is that when we have a pride group, you have to understand, a lot of times these are the same types of groups that are hurt, that have been afflicted, that have been oppressed, and as opposed to rising above this to to stop, not just stop the oppression that happened to them, but for others, they develop a mentality that's kind of wicked. It's like, okay, now if I'm in this lifestyle because someone outside of my lifestyle hurt me, I'm going to carry this resentment and this bitterness, and everyone that does not think of me now that I've got a bandwagon that's like me, or I've got a support structure that I found that is like my lifestyle. Now we're going to make it our mission to come against everyone that's not like us. So now we've taken that wicked cap off of them and we've put it on us. You understand? And I'm not saying us as me being part of that lifestyle. I'm just using it, metaphorically, so we can understand that pride is pride, and the Bible says that this is destruction. Like when you start seeing these things, destruction is on the other side, usually for the person, the afflicted, group, person, or party, and for those that they feel afflicted by, So we want to pay attention to, who's supporting all of these pride groups that are in actuality causing more divisiveness when you slow down and look at the fruit of it, because you're being forced to accept broadcasting of certain things and behaviors that should not be broadcasted publicly. There's no sacredness to the the intimacy of two people that decide to have consensual interrelations like that. Where is the contrition there? Where is that thing that makes it special? Why does it need to be broadcasted to everyone? And what is going on within someone where they feel that the only way that they can be accepted and loved is to make people be like them? Otherwise, you understand? And I think the misconception is, okay, you don't want to accept us, and it's not that you don't, from one perspective, you don't want to accept us, this is my lifestyle, and da 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 da. Yeah, and I'm not saying that they aren't people that are very, abrasive in that area. They're stuck in their ways. They're very traditional. That's just what they. But you know what? This is America. They're entitled to that. They're entitled to turn on their TV and not be forced to see something that is largely inappropriate for the public. You understand? I remember when I had invited one of my loved ones over many, 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 many years ago, and I believe he was coming from Afghanistan, and he was telling us some stories about things that he saw while he was over there. And he told us they had a thing over there. It was called Man Boy Love Thursdays. And I'm not, I've never experienced anything like what he explained, seen something like that, but from what I understand, that this was a thing. This was like culturally accepted. Now, and it was like and I don't know how many of us would want to see something like that advertised to our child. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, how far, and the reason why I'm saying things is because once we let the devil in a little bit, he'll push the door open for all of the nasties to come through. So let's be careful, and use a sound mind as to what is publicly appropriate and what is not. I firmly believe that there should be some level of censorship. Yes, we need to still have, free speech, but when free speech begins to compromise, our liberties, and liberties can be very, very much, something that it weighs on perspective. You understand? Because some people feel I should be free to demonstrate my sexuality openly, and some people feel like that's private. Why do I have to see that part of your life? That shouldn't be your choice, but I should not be made to look at that. I should not be made to, teach my child that. And I think vice versa. There's just some things that should be intimate and kept between the family, but no one is taking, a step back to say, let's see what is appropriate for the public. Everything does not need to be broadcasted. You understand? And because we are a country that has, our honor. There's no honor here. You understand? When we go to other countries and learn about that, they actually have laws. I was just reading about this in Japan. They have laws where honor is a big deal. How do you have a country as magnificent as the United States of America, with a constitution as ironclad as we have, and then have a people that do not value honor, that do not value reputation and family and privacy? You understand? Like, how do we just discount these things just so that we can essentially be, let's call a spade a spade? A lot of us are not seeking transparency. A lot of us want to be nosy. A lot of us want to have something to run and tell that. A lot of us are not operating in a heart that's rooted in the Torah. A lot of us are looking for something on someone to dishonor them, and it's like that's what the campaigns have been doing. You're looking for something to dishonor someone, and a lot of times when people do things like that, that's because they're not honorable. One thing that I do like is when I see candidates accept the fact that they may have different perspectives and different ways that they want to go after a challenge that we may be facing as a nation. But I think the most commendable ones are the ones that have ideas and have perspectives that are fresh, that are new, different, policy objectives and goals and milestones that they would like to see accomplished. What do you bring to the table? What have we not seen? What are we not thinking about? And let's spend some time there, so we at the problem solving table, as opposed to the gossip and the cool table that has no fruit. You might have looked good, you sound good and everything, but at the end of the day, you're a puppet for Satan. And that's just what it is, if you just call a spade a spade. So when we look at the economy is just terrible. The Keystone Pipeline was shut down. There are so many families that lost their homes. They lost their businesses. I mean, it to the point where, they're from what I understand, a prophet was saying that so many people had to take 2 and 3 jobs to survive, and they weren't jobs that were comparable in income. It's like we went from working at an oil conglomerate to being a manager at Burger King. And there's nothing wrong with being a manager at Burger King, please hear me, because that is a very important and powerful job, a very a job that you should be very proud of, because we need individuals that are franchise owners and managers and so, but we need all of that. But what I'm saying is that when you are a doctor, and because someone has done something or set a policy or a bill that removes your license, you understand? And this is how far it can go. Right now, now that we kind of have some idea why the economy, we got to check. We cannot have more of the same. We got to stop this, and you stop this by voting. So if we look at, like if we use the doctor example, let's go to healthcare. Right now, healthcare is so terrible. This whole, COVID-19 thing it just took the world by storm. Again, I was the prophet. I saw it coming, and I spoke about it. You see, when you have something like this in the Senate, in an official that speaks to the president, that has a history of seeing what's coming, and then doing what Joseph did, talking with the president, talking with the king, and saying, okay, this is what's coming, this is what we need to prepare. Now catch what I'm saying. Let's just say it didn't come. What's the worst thing that would come from what Joseph did? At least you prepared. You understand? There's no woe attached to that. We prepared, we put aside this, that, and here. There was no woe. There was nothing bad was going to come from it, even if it didn't happen. But it did happen. And because there was a prophet in the king's ear, there was a Senate child of Israel in the king's ear, and Pharaoh's ear, guess what ends up happening? A whole nation is preserved during a time of 7 years of famine. 7 years. So when I spoke about COVID, I believe it was at the end of December 2019, and I did post the video. I remember, before the shutdown, everything, I remember I saw the healthcare workers, and the videos are still up. I saw the healthcare workers. So what's happening now? There are staff shortages. Why? Why are there so many staff shortages? Because these individuals in healthcare, they sacrificed their lives. So many people died. You understand? When this came out, when it was the thick of it, so many healthcare workers died. And then when the mandates came out, because some were not comfortable with taking an experimental, vaccine, and it being mandated, some of them had to choose between their life, their spiritual beliefs, and their jobs. And so when we think about this, I spoke about like this being the mark of the beast, and I stand by it. The reason why I stand by it is because the Bible talks about receiving it in your hand and in your forehead. Well, what you have to understand is the doctors, and also this is the beast, right? The beast is who you see over healthcare. You understand, the Baphomet, that and you see, when you see the Baphomet statue, you actually see between his legs, you see the pharmakia, the symbol between them. So he's advertising what he's over. You understand? Pan, what he's over. So when you take a position as being a physician here in the United States, you have to swear by Apollyon and Hygeia and all of these Greek gods. That's your Hippocratic oath. And you hold your hand up and you receive the oath into your hand, right? Now, once you receive the oath in your hand, you get your directives from who made you do the oath, who you're swearing to, the gods that you're swearing of. And these are gods that come to steal, kill, and destroy, which is why most pharmakia, it will cure the pimple, but then cause you to have a stroke, because the devil is in the details. The devil is in the ingredients. You understand? So you have to understand that when we talk about these things, and these are things, this is why you need to have people that have a different perspective, that can see higher. So when we're saying go out and vote, but not this, I know a lot of this stuff to some people it's like, oh, these conspiracy theories. No, just slow down, because this is not something that's complicated to look at, because right now the enemy is not hiding this stuff. It's being broadcast to you. Look at the news. When you watch TV now, all you're seeing is different medicines from different pharmacy companies, pharmaceuticals companies advertise different remedies for the things that your body is breaking down from. Go back, before the pandemic, before the mandates, did you see so many immune system related ailments hitting everybody at the same time, and everyone's acting like they have no intelligence to piece this together? Right now, healthcare is getting hit by RSV, this respiratory virus. I posted this video. I said there's a virus that's coming, and the children are not going to be able to breathe, and you're going to see these collapses, and with the heart. I posted these things, but again, the people don't want a true prophet in office, because the prophet is going to prepare the people, and the president is going to translate this advice, this counsel, in a way that it will make sense to people. But the prophet is supposed to be talking to the president and saying, look, this is part of counsel, and it's not something that's far-fetched, because a lot of presidents have different councils. President Trump had evangelical counsel, where he went in and he talked about these things and talked about the things that was going on in the world, able to understand where we are in the Torah, being able to understand, and embrace foresight to see things based off of the state of affairs that we're all walking through today. You understand? We are all walking out the decisions and consequences of what someone else has done. You understand? So we have an opportunity to vote now, and get some of these, like I said, get a new perspective in, get a new agenda in, get some new legislation in, stop some legislation that's trying to push through, that may not necessarily benefit us, when we look at the details of a thing, So again, healthcare shortages all over the nation. Why? Employment shortages all over the nation. I had a phone carrier without releasing the phone carrier. And the phone carrier had 24-hour, customer service. And now when I called one time, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and they told me I had to call tomorrow after 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I was like, what's going on? And then they say, well, we're going to transfer you to the Philippines and everything like that, and to that call center, because, the staff shortages. And I'm like, look at this. And I remember back in the summer, I was going to things just like a little fish market, little things around, and I was like, and I noticed that their hours were short. And so I was like, hold on. Sorry about that, Saints. So when we think about, again, let's take a second to go back and remember, like, the coal industry and everything like that, and the power industry, we want to think about how that's going to affect our nation. I was listening on the news this morning that there are a lot of saints in Pennsylvania, and they're out of diesel, so diesel fuel, and so this is concerning, especially when you have someone in office that's saying they're going to shut down the coal industry. And then you want to pay attention to when people begin to redact statements, because it's not, popular, or they kind of said something and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna take it back, or we didn't mean it like this. Or you want to pay attention to that, because these are people pleasers. When you have researched something and really took time to see how a decision or move or ambition is going to affect other people, redacting things simply because it's it might be something that make people a little bit uncomfortable, but in the long run, the fruit of it will bring prosperity, in the long run to our nation, and restore some, some faith in, our nation's leadership. We have to take a look at these things. So, again, just recap on crime and everything like that. I remember when it was last November, I believe it was November 2021. I remember, just giving a prophetic word. I was like, I'm seeing a lot of stabbings, these stabbings in Hawaii. So many stabbings. I was just seeing so many, and it was so crazy because it was like stabbings, machetes, swords. It's like every day is some stabbing news, like every single day, and it's not on some coincidence scale. It's on a scale that's just you unless you're purposely trying to cover up, it's undeniable. You understand? Like a crime, I was watching, and it's like now they're saying on Oahu there's like 8 other islands, main islands that have a prominence in Hawaii, and it's like Oahu is something else, like the drugs with the children and the kike, it's like, what do you do, when you say, look, drugs and these cartels and human and sex trafficking, this is a thing we need to focus on it. And then you have candidates running, and they're not mentioning this at all, like at all, and then now we're looking at the fruit of that. They, right at Halloween time, they come out with fentanyl that looks like, sweet tarts and different candies and things like that. And then Halloween comes, and those that choose to celebrate that holiday, you got to understand, because now, they posted in Hawaii on the news that there was a hypodermic needle in one of the children's candy bag that they went out and got, so this is what the people voted for or not for. You didn't think it was important. Another thing that I brought forth was like this slander issue and everything like that. Like I said, the whole situation with honor, this is a nation that has no honor, and it's all stemming because of slander. Now, this may be like something that's not a big deal, but you have to look. Right now, we're in an internet, social media age. And, if you don't think that this is something that is important, well, let's just say you have a donut shop, right? And you have a bad experience with one customer, and that customer decides to say something really egregious, and it's a lie. Like, oh, there was some type of bug in one of the donuts that had that. Those people are nasty. That person, may not like you, but they can come up with whatever, and it's like, totally destroy your business from something like that. If they think you have rodents and bugs and stuff in your food, who's going to come and eat there? Now, this may not be a situation that affects you, but a lot of times, a lot of people don't care about things until it knocks on their door, and then you want everyone to come and surround you. And this is a lot of what's happening right now. There are other situations that, were very, very, very pressing, like, the indoctrination of our children with different, learning, agendas for things that we don't need to be, incorporating into our educational system. What happened to like math, science, social studies, like the core general elective, studies. Like, why do we have all of these extracurricular things being presented? Where are the PTAs? Remember back in the day, Parent Teachers Association, they came up with curriculums, it's like, now who's coming up with these curriculums? It's like some anonymous person is coming up with like this business model, and it's being imposed on your children. And it's like, if you don't have one of the menu items from the franchise owner, you're ostracized or you're canceled or whatever. This is what's happening like right now. So what do we do when society is turning into a cancel culture? When someone can just say something, whether true or not, and destroy you, your family, your reputation, all opportunities for you to move forward. There are systems right now, as if you wronged the wrong person in Hawaii, they put your name in the system and you can't get anything. Everybody goes and collect. This is what, and then most of these people, they claim to be people of faith. This is what the faith is that they support. This is not God. So you have to understand, if you have people that are in office that lend themselves to that are so easily swayed by gossip and don't take time to research, a real leader. I remember the story with the two women, that had a baby. One of their child died, and so they went and they stole another woman's child, and tried to misrepresent it as being her own. And the squabble went so far that it came before King Solomon, and King Solomon says, "Okay, I'm going to cut the baby in half, and I'll give you one woman one half of the baby and the other one, and this was so wise." And so one of the women was like, "Yeah, go ahead and cut the baby in half," and the other one was like, "No, give her the baby." And Solomon says, "You know what, I'm going to give the woman the baby." He said, "That's the one that chose to preserve this child's life. That's who the mother is." Now what you have to understand is that in that story, it was not revealed who the true biological mother is. Right now, what's going on is, I remember I gave a prophecy. I said, I see like families and mothers and father doing egregious things, like murdering their own children. I remember I saw a husband, he was like stabbing this woman in her stomach, and then I saw serial killers. I saw all of these horrible things, and I remember crying out to the Lord. I was like, Father, I don't want to be that prophet. I'm just seeing all of this horrible stuff, and the Lord is saying, you are to speak what I gave you, because this is a warning to the people. This is for the people to stop and pay attention. But then we have, the enemy will say something, "Oh, well, they're saying this and they wish and this, that, and the other." No, it's not a wish, because what ends up happening is exactly what the Lord showed. And as opposed to coming into a space where we humble ourselves and say, you know what, we are doing wickedness, let's stop doing it, we begin to attack the prophet that is only speaking because God is telling them to warn these wicked people of their ways. And if they don't choose me, they think this is bad. When I take my hand completely off of this situation, you're going to see all hell break loose, which we're already seeing the fruit of who many of you listen to. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here and I'm like, Lord, why did you take my feet from off of there? Why is this going? Yeah, Daddy is preserving and preserving his prophets, because when the others don't listen, you need to pay attention. When a prophet's feet is on the land and they're speaking the word of the Lord, and then they leave, you better be careful, because you're still there. And all of this hell is going on. Now, usually if it's the prophet, if they bring in the hell gonna go with them when they leave. But when they leave and you see all hell break loose, maybe it's because of how you treated them, because the Bible says that when you wrong one of his servants, a sent one that's come outside, sent in, and you mistreat them, it says your city is going to pay. Everybody's going to pay for how one person treats one of his servants. So we have to be very careful with everything that we're being blessed by the Lord to observe, because we have to take everything to Scripture, not to our own internal and psychological filter. Because if we put man's thoughts on what's going on right now, man will think that they can do something. But what I'm trying to explain is creation is rising up against man right now. And just like the pastor that I was mentioning earlier said, he said it was so beautiful. He was like, God took down Egypt with frogs and flies. So God don't need, man need nuclear weapons and everything like that. You got to understand, all of these volcanoes have magma coming from the pit of hell. You understand? And it's boiling. Hell is boiling and ready they hate mankind. Why? Because they're like, you give them a chance to come back home and not us? You got to understand there are entities out here that you cannot see. There's a lot of things that you cannot see. There's some things that you can only see with a microscope. But if you, with the naked eye, you cannot see a germ or a virus until you see the symptoms of it. And if a lot of you would slow down, you will understand that we need to vote truly for righteousness. Truly. Because when the righteous ones are gone, it says the people mourn, the land will mourn. Are you mourning now? Is the land mourning? Is there grumbling in the earth? These volcanoes is grumbling. This is the fruit. Who did you listen to? Did you choose God or didn't you? What is the fruit of your labor? Right now, we need to be at these polls. Right now, we need to look at whatever remaining candidates that's on these ballots. Which ones are putting God first? Now, some people want to put America first on their slogan. Some people want to put whatever their state is first. Some people want to, but I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Because you're already reaping from what you did in the primaries. I'm warning you. This is a prophetic warning. If you don't put God first, you are going to pay dearly. Dearly. The children are overflowing. Overflowing. That's no sign that there's a train honking in the background. That's no coincidence. I mean, the children are overflowing the hospitals with I remember when I saw it in the vision. I said it was a lower respiratory. It was something with the lower and the distal part of the lungs, you know. And it's just really, it's really crazy how specific the Lord is with these things. And creation is rising up. Creation, you're witnessing creation move and display the power of God. We need to choose Him. A lot of people don't want to face the truth, and a lot of people don't like how I deliver these messages. And I'm not here to do it your way. This is not Burger King. You can choose not to listen. I mean, I know there was someone that, oh, you know, this one's, what is it? I'm Messianic. Or, let me tell you something. By DNA heritage, I don't have to sign a paper or go through an ordination process or put a robe on or carry some cup or whatever. By DNA, I am of the lineage of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. By DNA lineage. So my birthright is literally a birthright. It's not an adoption. And I say that with the boldness of Christ. Be careful about birthrights as well. And I'm going to close this out as I again implore you. Your birthright. Your birthright. Your birthright. When I was talking earlier about the oath, when I was saying the mark of the beast, goes into your hand and into your forehead. You receive the oath into your hand. Once you receive the oath into your hand, you are an instrument for pharmakia. You're an instrument for psychological programming. You're an instrument that the beast will use. You are his vessel. Okay. Now, some may not know. You understand that they've done this because they don't understand the spiritual things. But because I can speak on this now, I'm going to enlighten you. You receive the oath into your hand, and now you have your franchise instructions. You are licensed now by the gods that you serve. So you've received the mark and covenant into your hand by oath. What are you oathing to? I swear by. God says you shall swear by nothing. You understand? Once you do this, in order to go and spread what you've been hired to do, you're the drug dealer. Now you have to convince them to take the drug so that you can take control of the mind. You get the beast into the mind. Then once you get the mind, that let's inject them and let's change them. I know you don't understand this. I put a video up to break it down, and they took the videos down because it was so. But anybody that takes oath in office, when they holding it up, if they don't have that Torah under their hand, because you want to slow down. You want to slow down. What are you allegiating yourself to? What covenant are you covenanting ourselves with? I'm so glad that we have term limits now too, because this means that when you come into office, whatever God that you serve, this is why we can't be having all of these different stuff going. Who are you oathing to? And then, as being the elected representative, we are all saying we come into agreement with this person that's taking the oath to do what. So if the chief person that has the oath is going with the, let's just say, the World Health Organization or what have you, and that's his advisor, this is why now we have these mandates going on. This is contributing to the shortages. Are you noticing something like the traffic? Have you like traffic used to be really bad. Have you noticed that even though rush hour, you might still have rush hour, but it just doesn't seem like it's so crazy like it used to be? Could it be because there's people that are dead? Could it be because of these staff shortages? I saw a vision of the animals being orphaned, just like, families, having children orphaned by that. And now there's animal shortages all over the place. I've even went to foster and adopt one to help. A lot of people getting rid of the animals because it's communicable, monkeypox and everything like that. That's been hushed as well. I said that monkeypox was going to cause deaths because the immune system has been hit. Another thing we want to, also think about, is, as a family, the nuclear traditional family is being, completely, like shattered. So you got to think like 10 years from now, what's going to happen. I remember that there was a time where, like when I was coming up, that's why, I'm a Mima, but I'm still like super duper young, because, I came up when like teenage pregnancy was a really big deal, and they ended up, that we're in a generation now, is so many children that are sterile. There's so many children that either they can't have babies or they're having babies so late in life. Like I know I have some, late 30s and early 40s. It's like that's almost becoming the norm. There's really, that teenage pregnancy thing is not really a thing. Sterilization. And it makes me think also, when we think about Planned Parenthood, as I've been fostering and learning more about, the animal shelter, how they function and operate and everything like that. I saw so much of what the shelters do in comparison to what Planned Parenthood does. It's terrifying, because they're animal control, part of the adoption process, at least what I adopted from. They take their reproductive system out. I was like, this kitten is like 8 weeks old. And I remember the kitten kept looking at me like, look at what they did. I recorded it, and I was like, this animal knows that its uterus has been ripped out, and I was like, and then they were saying that, there's a lot of them, if they euthanize them, and then there were some that were saying that sometimes when animals are surrendered or caught or whatever, they're pregnant. So what they'll do for animal control is they will, if they don't euthanize the parent and the puppy, they'll take the puppies out and kill the puppies, so that there's that this is what's going on. Now compare that to Planned Parenthood. They're doing the same thing. Now that they have when you hear euthanize, you think animal. No, they are now saying through Planned Parenthood, you can euthanize, children. And now they're saying, there are actually people that are proposing legislation to make it so a parent can kill their child all the way up to the age of 18. saying that if your child starts cutting up and all kinds of stuff like that. So this is really crazy what's happening, and a lot of this is because people voted for representation, and these individuals that did not put God first. Because if you don't have God first, where are you getting your moral compass? So, and if God is not your foundation and your rock, when you get into office, and this is something that I saw a lot, there was people that was telling me, they was like, Asia, I when I watch you, I feel you. It was like, but there's so many people that come and say they're going to do this and say they're going to, but then when they get in, they do something different. I've seen it myself. I've seen people righteous, 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 and then as they start walking it out and they get closer, it becomes, I need to win over you. And so now I'm not going to speak righteousness. I'm going to focus on what dirt I can pull up on you, and let's begin to dishonor one another. So now we righteous, 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 but we serving Satan. Now I'm going to serve Satan so I can get one over on you. And then when I get this, so this is the sign that you want to be looking at to determine whether you want to vote for somebody. Because if they're not doing that, and then when they begin to get pressured, they begin to say, I'm going to serve Satan. So what happens when they're in the office, right, and they get pressured? They're going to serve Satan. Then you have another situation where you have people, they want to run and everything like that until their family or their reputation, until their honor or some crap comes out about them, then they don't want to do this anymore. So you want to pay attention to that as well, because if you have a leader leads sacrificially, and it's so amazing, because we think about that when we're coupled up with people. We'll have a situation. Ooh, there's a spidey. We'll have a situation where you have two people, and they want to be together, but they're unequally yoked. That was something that I think last week was a really big thing. I think we're going to be preaching about that, how when you're unequally yoked, the things that end up happening. And when we have these situations, and you can take the unequally yoked idea or mentality and place it even in leadership, and when we're voting. If you have a God first, and then you have a whatever pleases everyone, and now that's an unequal yoke. You have unequal, your representative is so far removed from the people. But then you have to understand, the people are selecting leadership, what I understand, in two ways. One way, people are looking for Christ's perfection in someone that's just as messed up as they are. There's just, the other person is just trying to stand up and say, you know what, I know that we're all messed up, but let's try to change it. Let's try to and then you have the other spectrum where it's like, the people, they want what they want. They may want to do illegal activities. They may want to have a society where certain drugs are legal and open and all kinds of stuff like that, and they want all that. So they want representation that's reflective of where society, or that society, has turned. And the concerning thing for all of us is this: there's a reason why the Mayan Empire is gone and stuff like that. And a lot of these ancient empires are gone. It's because they did stuff like this. It's a reason why, ancient Hawaii, why so many of our people, they're gone, and I don't mean that in an offensive way, because like I said, these pride groups rise up and everybody is offended. You can't say anything, everything offends, and it's so crazy, because you come to one place and you have to accept a whole nother, or you're just a horrible person. But then that group of people can go out into the rest of the nation and expect to be embraced and speak the slang and wear the clothes and go to the hypocrisy is unbelievable. So what do we do when Satan is in everything, in the details of everything? Somebody got to say enough is enough, because it's too much. It's too much. It's too much wickedness. It's too much injustice. It's too much. I got this on you and I got that on you. When if right now, if God, turned a movie on everybody, everybody would have their face down on the ground. Everybody would. So loving one another means understanding that it's impossible for me to love you or you to love me or for us to love each other if we don't have God as what our definition of love is. You understand? And start there. If we don't heal from hurts, and a lot of people think that you can't run for office if you have something that's inside of you that hurts. I beg to differ, because a hurt can catapult you into your destiny. It's just how you handle that hurt. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? And the last thing that I want to say is about being chosen. It was so amazing, when we sat down and we thought about it, like who qualifies, like who is a good representative, according to God. If we look at the characters in the Bible that made history, they were not the publicans. They were not the ones that looked good on the outside, had the flashy corporate suit on, that said everything that needed to be said the right way to please everybody. No, the people that made history, they went against the grain, and vehemently sometimes. Elijah was not one to be played with. Elijah will kill you twice. Elijah will kill your children. You should have raised them to know better than to put their mouth on people walking on the street. Elijah was that one that God used as an example to say, this this man walked in the power of God. Kings and queens, they feared him, and he didn't have an army. This was one thing that Elijah came by himself. Ahab they had armies. Moses had a stutter, was very self-conscious. Moses had, he had murdered, he had killed somebody, and then he ran, so, and it was almost like he ran and hid, and and he didn't really have confidence, either, and God chooses Moses and to go and stand before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh had, armies, and Moses is by himself, and he's like, look, this is what's getting ready to happen. And by the power of God, Moses, leads the people out of it. See, look into what happened. It said he let them, he let them, he let my people go. This is what God told Moses to say. And that's it. Like, but God equipped him, knowing and understanding he had shortcomings. And that's what my point is. Job, we talked about unequally yoked. Job's wife, they was doing the most. They was, Job's wife was telling him to curse the God that had gave them everything that they had. Job led a wonderful life, and everybody in his family was reaping the fruit of Job's righteousness, because, but Job was feeling like, he could sacrifice himself and all of these animals for these people that were ungrateful, just doing everything against the Lord. Abraham, he come from a family of pagans and idolatry and all of that, and God pulls him out of there and says, I'm going to teach you myself, and then, Abraham, kind of does what Adam did in the garden. Adam goes and submits to eating fruit because Eve done heard something, and he eats off of the fruit, and now they're in some type of trouble, and here's Abraham doing a similar thing, right? Abraham's like, okay, we're supposed to have the promised seed, me and Sarah and everything like that, and they get impatient and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So Sarah's like, well, okay, head up in one of these concubines and everything like that. And here now we got to this day we paying for that. We got, Muslims and Christians fighting each other because of these two, because they was not believing God, and so this is, just, it's just unbelievable. Mary Magdalene, like I said, she had all kinds of demons up in her. Jesus had to deliver her, and he said, I called you by name, I redeemed you, and now she's sitting at the table with Christ, with the brotherhood. So it's so many different situations in the Bible where God just chooses. It's like, Hosea. He tells him to go and get, he's got to go. Who's Omer? He's got to go get her, and she's a prostitute. But God chose the prostitute because this is the lineage of Christ. So if these people not going to look, David set up Bathsheba's husband, Uzziah, and what ends up happening, David he wants Bathsheba, he sees her, he's lusting after her, he done fell in love with her from seeing her beauty, and so he gets rid of the husband and everything like that, but he ends up paying for that. God lets the first child between them two die. Nathan's like, God's seeing you, and this is what's going to happen, and David's crying and crying and crying and crying, and God's like, no, but then after that, God forgives him and says that he's a man after his own heart. We need to slow down. What does that mean? Like, David was a go-getter. David went after what he wanted. And David was short-tempered in some ways, because if you think about, when he was trying to cross that territory, Nabal's, territory, and David had helped Nabal some, and been kind to him. And now David's just trying to peacefully pass through this territory because he's got all heck, chasing after him and everything like that. And Nabal's mean to him. And David's like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill all of them. Like, this is the type of situations of imperfection that God, he was involved in this selection. He chose these types of individuals. He didn't choose the one that's proclaiming righteous, and we need to be righteous, and we need to No, righteousness is in Christ. Righteousness is saying, what, I'm going to humble myself, I'm going to seek righteousness in somebody else. I'm going to seek righteousness for God to indwell in me with his righteousness, so that I vote and put my ballot, cast my vote on my ballot the right way. You understand? Not in a manner where I'm seeking something from someone that I'm not myself. We are all filthy rags. But we have to humble ourselves and submit to ourselves, submit to the Lord, understanding that God has made a selection. And when we rise up and do what we want, and we're looking at the fruit of doing things our way, we crying out, God, why can you save us? Can you this? And God has placed chosen ones in front of you. It's so crazy because it seemed like when, and I'm just going to speak in Hawaii for what I witnessed. It seemed like in Hawaii, before the primaries, it seemed like, the races were so charged, and because I believe the chosen ones were on the scene. And then the people did what they normally do. And then where's all of the fire, all of that movement, that lion, it was like it was just gone. And it's like we're just looking, and now the fruit of everything that's happening right now, all of these individuals, this is how wonderful God is. When you don't choose God and you do wickedness, these individuals that God did not choose, they're going to be the ones everyone blames, because all of this hell, they're going to pick up all of this hell. That's why I say, a thing by its fruit. What's going to change. We're going to see. And we're going to see so many people have destroyed relationships with people, running after gossip, doing all kinds of things that Torah tells us not to do. And then they're not even going to win. And now the fruit of their behavior, you got destroyed relationships now. They're not going to trust you. You're not going to be able to truly repair that. There's always going to be the memory, because they know the wicked that you're capable of. And the reason why I'm saying they're not going to, because I have very little faith in people right now, because they don't know how to love like Christ. Loving like Christ is not telling people what they want to hear, and man or woman picking and choosing who they think is best. It doesn't work like that. And when we do stuff outside of what God has ordained, everybody pays for it. And so when they think that they've won, look at them news headlines: stabbings, murders, car crashes, drugs in the kids' candy, the sex trafficking. Somebody just got kidnapped the other day. Car break-ins, home invasions. I remember God gave me a word so specific. I was like, there's Russian cells here. There's somebody in Hawaii. And here it was like a couple of days later, they said Russian spies that took on the identities of dead babies decades ago have been, captured and everything like that. You literally God is speaking. And I remember just the ridicule of it. And then the ones that are jealous. I mean, I literally had someone that poisoned me in 2019 contact everybody and tell them all this egregious stuff, but they failed to tell them that they poisoned me. And that's the reason why I was in the emergency room and almost died. But I did not broadcast what they had done. See, and then they pop up 3 years later and try to finish the job. This is the stuff but you got to understand that when God got you, you don't have to. Especially when God shows you. Now, I just showed you everything that, the way that this person is going to go see what the Lord is doing, I promise you, I already seen the conversation, and they're going to be so afraid of where they are going right now. They're going to be trying to find someone to get me on the phone so that they could say I'm sorry. But God has been talking to them, and it's not on their timing, it's on God's timing. They got a lot of making up to do. And I forgive, because I know that there's nothing that anyone can do that can take me out. Only God can. They've been trying to kill me. And every time they kill me, they take like 5 years off of my aging. And I see them, and it's been added 10 years to theirs. So the devil is paying for what they've done. So all of this is to get you to pay attention to the fruit. The fruit. You have to vote, and you have to vote today. These are the people in Hawaii. I'm talking to you. You have to vote. I don't know at this point what you're voting for, because I don't believe in my spirit that the individuals that you're thinking are going to win are going to win. I believe what's going to happen in Hawaii is the person that the people, and this is only so that they learn. You're going to get what you ask for so that you can feel it, so that you will learn. And who God chose, you're going to make a better decision, because it's going to be so bad. It's going to force you to remember. It's going to force you to think, how did we get to this point? How did this happen? What is going on? What did we do? What did us churches, what did we do? How did we lead? What did we do? Are we truly living with Christ's hearts? Because the manifestation of what we conjured is here. Do you have peace, or are you concerned? So, saints, this is a time for chosen people. And those of you that did not get elected, please don't drop the ball. God is not finished with this election. Please believe me when I tell you this. He's not finished with this election. There is and if this comforts any of you, the Lord told me that Trump was going to serve more than one term. What does that mean? It clearly didn't mean, you know, through man's eyes consecutively, but could it mean that, you know, he's going to run again and win again? Catch what I'm saying? Could it be another Trump is going to run? You understand? Trump, you know, we just don't know, and Daddy is being so elusive with it. I think it's absolutely beautiful and magnificent the way that he's doing these things. But we're about to see that prophecy unfold. I'm trying to keep this, you know, as political, you know, politically focused as possible, because I have so many different utterances to share. But I wanted to get this out so that, you know, maybe some of you that are standing on lines or sitting contemplating or whatever, maybe somebody will see this. And this is not just the Hawaii message. This is a message for everyone in the United States of America and any of the territories in which voting is relevant. You know, vote, because we need representation. You know, we need God first. You know, a lot of people talk it and everything like that, but I will say this: it doesn't matter what comes up in the polls. The reason why I'm telling you to vote is because this vote is spiritual. And for those of you that rock this video out with me and watch the whole thing, this is the meat of it. This vote is spiritual. Heaven is watching your vote. It doesn't matter what the tallies say. Heaven is watching your vote, and this vote is, it has to do with the covering of God during this dark season that's approaching. If you are choosing the enemy, but this vote is actually, you're telling, I choose God. I choose God. Let the Holy Spirit lead you. Some of you might vote Democrat, some of you might vote Republican, Independent, or, you know, any other political affiliation or whatever it is. Just pray and just ask, you know, Father, lead me, because he's scanning the heart. So that's the meat of this. What you select is what you will reap. And the primaries you're already seeing, because you didn't put those issues first, this is what was at the door, and it's here now. Now the candidates that did not speak about that, they think these things are running rampant. What are they going to do? Mandates and everything like that. They want to mandate children, your children, to take this vaccine as in order for them to go to school. Remember what I said about the mark of the beast? Okay, so I'm not saying that it is or not. What I'm saying is, think about it. If you don't have it, you wasn't able to work. If you're not working, then you can't have food to eat. You can't buy or sell if you don't have income. And if your income is tied to whether you've taken, then effectively what's taking place. And then we have a situation where now the children are being sacrificed. And now you're looking at the hospitals. Why are all of these children suddenly having all of these illnesses that are clearly associated with the degradation of the immune system? So, and it's harder. These illnesses are harder. All of these rare diseases are popping up. How is it possible that all of these rare diseases are popping up? And they're not rare anymore. We're reaping what we're sowing, and no one is thinking. Because everyone's so busy trying to find dirt on everyone, you don't realize that you're being buried by dirt. Right in your face, your enemy, in plain sight. I do love you, all of you, and I do hope that you think. Use your brain while you still can. And I know some of you feel like it's hopeless, one way or the other. But I'm telling you, with this one, it doesn't matter what happens with the poles, because again, God took down Egypt with frogs and flies. At the end of the day, what God wants will be, and you got to trust him. So make sure whatever you voted is really what you voted from your heart, because that's what's registering in heaven. Who cares about these systems here? Because God can overturn anything, anything. So I'm saying this again in love, and I'm prayerful that there's somebody out there that will listen, even if it's one soul. I'm praying that you listen. Life is very beautiful and it's very precious. And for all of you that were or are chosen and been overlooked, your season is coming, because many people are about to experience a nightmare. And it's by their own hand. There'll be no one to blame but themselves. No one to blame but themselves. So this is why we're going to vote. This is why it matters. If I'm leaving anything out, we'll talk about it on the other side of the election. But God is good. He is good. And he's got us. So I'll see you tonight or tomorrow. I'm a few hours ahead of Hawaii. So I know many of y'all probably still sleeping right now at the time of my recording this. And I'm well into my day, enjoying this beautiful, beautiful weather. This beautiful day. God bless all of you. On Rainbow Covenant, we have a very special message. Prophet Jonathan told me this morning that the Lord told him to preach. And if y'all know, Prophet does not like preaching. So if God has told him to do it, he's doing it. So those of you that can, I'll put a link in the description for you to subscribe to Rainbow Covenant so you can see when that message comes out. This message is just on, unless it's shared, Torah, prophecy, and politics. So we kind of take all of the spiritual elements of it, prophecy and politics, and I think you got a little bit of all of that in this video, and we just share. I'm going to go and have some lunch now, and I'll talk to all of you soon. Again, this is Aisha Levine. I love all of you with the love of Yeshua, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And I pray all of you have a wonderful rest of the day, and that that we see an amazing thing when the election results are revealed. And just trust God in whatever it is that happens, because at the end of the day, God will have his way. And we should all be excited about that. Whether that be him just allowing people to reap what they've sown. At the end of the day, good comes from that as well. We are his dream. We are his masterpiece. We are in his story, and we have yet another day to glory in his wonders. So God bless each and every one of you. See you soon. Aloha and shalom. God bless you. Amen.